I still remember the sound of my husband's voice that morning, sharp, impatient, final. The kind of tone that didn't leave room for explanations. Or mercy. I was standing halfway down the staircase when I heard it, my fingers gripping the banister as if my body already knew something inside me was about to fracture. "You're done here. Pack your things and leave before security escorts you out." Silence followed. Not the empty kind, the heavy, humiliating kind. The kind that belongs to someone swallowing their dignity whole. Then a woman spoke. Soft. Steady. Controlled. "I understand," she said. "But I'd like to ask." "No," my husband cut in. "This conversation is over." I leaned forward just enough to see her. She stood in the middle of the living room, our living room, holding a slim leather folder to her chest like a shield. Her back was straight, but her hands trembled. She couldn't have been older than 30. Dark eyes. Neat braids pulled into a low bun. A quiet intelligence in the way she carried herself. She didn't cry. That, somehow, made it worse. My husband, Marcus, didn't even look at her when he gestured toward the door. "Go." She turned. That's when our eyes met. And in that instant, something passed between us. Not recognition. Not familiarity. Something closer to a warning. She nodded once. Not to him. To me. Then she walked out. The door closed behind her with a soft click that echoed louder than a slam. Marcus exhaled like a man who'd just thrown away a problem. "Handled," he said. I didn't answer. Because all I could think was, what kind of man fires someone in his own home, like that? Marcus called her inefficient. But I knew that wasn't true. Her name was Naomi Carter, and I'd seen her work. She'd been Marcus's executive assistant for nearly 3 years, loyal, precise, tireless. The woman who remembered birthdays he forgot. Deadlines he missed. Meetings he pretended he'd scheduled himself. She was the reason his empire looked effortless. And now she was gone. Just like that. That night, Marcus poured himself a drink and laughed while telling me she'd been getting ideas above her station. She started questioning decisions, he said. That's a liability. I stared at the amber liquid in his glass, wondering when I'd married a man who thought people were disposable. Did she do anything wrong? I asked. Marcus smiled, slow, smug. She forgot who was in charge. I didn't sleep that night. Because somewhere between the ceiling fan's hum and the hollow space beside me in bed, a thought took root. What if she didn't forget? What if she discovered something? 2 days later, I found her contact information buried in an old charity spreadsheet. Marcus never cleaned his files. He didn't think he needed to. I stared at her email address for a long time before typing. Hi Naomi. This is Evelyn. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I deleted the message. Rewrote it. Deleted it again. Finally, I sent something simpler. I'm sorry for how things ended. If you need anything, truly, let me know. I didn't expect a response. But 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. Thank you. That means more than you know. No explanation. No accusation. Just gratitude. And guilt flooded me so fast I had to sit down. I learned through a mutual contact that Marcus had quietly blacklisted her. No recommendations. No references. No severance. He hadn't just fired her. He'd erased her. I told myself I was helping her out of kindness. That's the lie I started with. I wired her money anonymously, enough to cover rent for 3 months. I connected her with a recruiter Marcus didn't know. I paid for a professional lawyer to review her termination paperwork. I never told Marcus. Each secret felt like a small rebellion. Each favor, a step away from the woman I'd been. And Naomi never asked for anything. She only sent short updates. Interview tomorrow. Thank you again. I won't forget this. That last message made my stomach tighten. Because something in the way she wrote it didn't feel like gratitude. It felt like a promise. 3 months later, Marcus's biggest deal collapsed overnight. A partner pulled out. Documents leaked. A lawsuit appeared out of nowhere. Marcus raged through the house like a wounded animal. And then he said something that froze my blood. This feels targeted. I said nothing. Because somewhere deep inside me, a quiet voice whispered. Naomi didn't lose her job that day. She lost her illusion. And women who lose illusions don't walk away quietly. If you're feeling the tension building, leave a like now. That tells me you want to continue this story. Before I continue, take a second to subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. This story only survives because of you. Marcus spiraled after the deal collapsed. At first, it was denial. He blamed his legal team, his partners, the economy, anyone but himself. Then came paranoia. He started checking his phone compulsively, changing passwords, locking his office door, something he'd never done before. He stopped sleeping through the night. I'd wake up to the glow of his laptop at 3 a.m., his jaw tight, his fingers tapping like he was trying to outrun something invisible. One night, I asked softly, "Do you think someone's coming after you?" He laughed. Too fast. Too loud. Don't be ridiculous. But his eyes betrayed him. Because Marcus knew something I didn't. Or rather, something he hoped I didn't. Naomi stopped sending updates. At first, I told myself it was a good sign. New job. New life. No reason to look back. But weeks passed. Silence. And then, an envelope arrived. No return address. Just my name. Handwritten. Inside was a single sheet of paper. We need to talk. Soon. N. My pulse hammered so hard I had to sit on the floor. Because suddenly, every secret I'd been carrying pressed against my ribs at once. We met in a quiet cafe on the east side of the city, the kind of place Marcus would never step into. Exposed brick. Jazz humming low. Windows fogged from the rain outside. Naomi was already there. She looked different. Stronger. Sharper. Like someone who'd been reforged under pressure. She stood when she saw me. Smiled, small, controlled. "You came," she said. "I wouldn't ignore that note," I replied. She nodded, sitting back down. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You helped me." "I did what I could," I answered quickly. Too quickly. She tilted her head. Studying me. "You did more than that. You took a risk." I swallowed. "You don't know my husband," I said. Her lips curved, not amused. "I know him very well." That's when she leaned forward. And everything changed. "Marcus didn't fire me for questioning decisions," she said calmly. "He fired me because I found proof." My breath caught. Proof of what? She slid a flash drive across the table. Fraud. Embezzlement. Manipulated contracts. Offshore accounts. The cafe noise seemed to fade. "That's impossible," I whispered. "It isn't," she said. "And he knows it." I stared at the small black object like it might explode. "Why are you showing me this?" Naomi's eyes didn't leave mine. Because you're not like him. The words landed heavier than any accusation. You could have walked away, she continued. Most people would have. But you didn't. I shook my head. I just helped because it was wrong what he did. She smiled softly. That's how it starts. She told me everything. How she'd noticed inconsistencies months ago. How Marcus had begun excluding her from certain meetings. How, when she asked questions, his tone shifted, colder, sharper. How the firing happened the very next day. He wasn't protecting the company, she said. He was protecting himself. My stomach twisted. Why not go to the authorities? I asked. She held my gaze. Because I knew he'd destroy me before I could open my mouth. A pause. But now, she added, things are different. What do you want from me? I asked quietly. Naomi leaned back. I want you to understand something first. She tapped the table once. This is bigger than revenge. I frowned. She met my eyes again. This is about justice. And survival. The word survival echoed through me. Because suddenly, memories I'd buried resurfaced, Marcus's control. His quiet threats masked as jokes. The way I'd learned to stay agreeable. Silent. Safe. Or so I thought. Think about it, Naomi said, standing. I'm not asking for an answer today. She slid a napkin toward me. A number written on it. But once this moves forward, there's no turning back. She paused. And Evelyn? Yes. If you stay with him, you'll go down with him. Then she walked out, leaving behind the faint scent of coffee and inevitability. That night, Marcus kissed my forehead and told me everything would be fine. I smiled back. But inside, I felt the ground shifting. Because for the first time, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just married to a powerful man. I was married to a man standing on the edge of collapse. And Naomi. She wasn't asking for help anymore. She was offering me a way out. Before I go on, subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. You have no idea how much that helps this story reach the right ears. I didn't touch the flash drive for 3 days. It sat hidden inside a hollowed-out book on my nightstand, a book Marcus had never read. Every time I passed it, my chest tightened. Because once you know something, you can't unknow it. And I was terrified of what I'd see. Marcus noticed the change before I even did. You're quiet, he said one evening, loosening his tie. Everything okay? I forced a smile. Just tired. He studied me, the way he always did when he sensed a shift. Not concern. Calculation. Don't let stress get to you, he said. You don't need to worry about anything. That's my job. The words were meant to reassure. They felt like a warning. That night, while Marcus slept, I finally plugged the flash drive into my laptop. My hands shook so badly I had to steady them against the desk. Folders opened. Spreadsheets. Emails. Scanned contracts. And then I saw it. Money moving in circles. Shell companies. Fake vendors. Dates lined up perfectly with Marcus's business trips. My breath turned shallow. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't ambition gone wrong. This was deliberate. Methodical. And terrifying. One file stopped me cold. An email chain. Marcus. A government contractor. A payoff disguised as consulting fees. At the bottom of the screen, a single sentence glared back at me. If this ever comes out, we bury her. I stared at the word her until my vision blurred. They weren't talking about Naomi. They were talking about me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I closed the laptop and sat there in the dark, listening to my own heartbeat. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Why Marcus discouraged my friendships. Why he controlled our finances. Why he insisted everything be kept in the family. I wasn't his partner. I was his insurance. The next morning, I told him I wanted to take a short trip. Just to clear my head. He smiled, but his eyes hardened. Alone? Yes. A pause. Then, of course. But that night, I caught him on the phone. Low voice. Tense. She's acting strange, he said. No. I don't think she knows, but keep an eye on things. I stepped back quietly, my blood turning to ice. I called Naomi from a burner phone the next day. I saw it, I whispered. She exhaled slowly. Then you understand. He talked about burying me, I said. Silence. Then Naomi said, very carefully, that's why we have to be smart. We. The word sent a strange jolt through me. We met again, this time not in public. A small rented office. Bare walls. No windows. Naomi had planned everything. Safe communications. Copies of documents. A timeline. You're not trapped, she said firmly. But you are in danger. I looked at her. What happens if I leave him? He'll come after you. And if I stay? She didn't hesitate. He'll sacrifice you. The truth landed like a verdict. That was the moment I understood something vital. This wasn't about choosing between Marcus and Naomi. It was about choosing who I was willing to become. When I returned home that night, Marcus wrapped his arms around me from behind. You smell different, he murmured. New perfume. No, I said softly. It was the scent of fear. And resolve. Later, as he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and made a decision that would change everything. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't confront him. I would stay. And I would watch. Because houses built on lies always crack. And I was done living inside a house of glass. Before I continue, subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. This story is about to change shape. I became the woman Marcus expected me to be. Agreeable. Soft-spoken. Unquestioning. And it was the hardest role I've ever played. Because every smile felt like betrayal, not of Naomi, but of myself. Marcus relaxed once he believed the storm had passed. He stopped locking his office door. Left his laptop open again. Started talking freely, careless, even. That's what arrogance does. It mistakes silence for ignorance. I learned his routines the way a spy memorizes enemy territory. Which days he met with lawyers. Which nights he drank too much. Which passwords he reused. I listened more than I spoke. And I wrote everything down, in a notebook disguised as a gratitude journal. I'm thankful for the truth. I'm thankful for patience. I'm thankful for Naomi. Naomi and I communicated in fragments. A missed call meant abort. A single emoji meant safe. Silence meant wait. She was building something outside my sight. And somehow, that scared me more than Marcus ever had. One evening, Marcus brought home champagne. Good news, he said. The investigation stalled. My fingers tightened around the glass. What investigation? He waved a hand. Just noise. You know how people get when they smell money. I smiled. Inside, I screamed. That night, he made a mistake. A small one. But small cracks destroy foundations. He left his phone in the bathroom. Unlocked. I stared at it for a long moment, my heart pounding so loud I was sure he'd hear it from the bedroom. Then I picked it up. Messages. Encrypted apps. A contact saved as NC. Naomi. My stomach dropped. The messages weren't recent. They were old. Threats. Legal intimidation. A final message, sent the morning after her firing. You should have stayed loyal. My hands shook. He hadn't just fired her. He'd tried to break her. I forwarded everything to the secure folder Naomi had set up. Then I put the phone back exactly where it was. When Marcus returned, he kissed my temple. Everything okay? He asked. Perfect, I said. And I meant it. Because now I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was war. A week later, Naomi sent me a single message. It's almost time. No details. No explanation. Just inevitability. That night, Marcus stood in front of the mirror adjusting his cufflinks. You're quiet again, he said. You've been like that a lot lately. I met his eyes in the reflection. Just thinking, I replied. He smiled. About what? I smiled back. How fragile things really are. His smile faltered. Just for a second. But it was enough. Because for the first time since the day he fired Naomi, Marcus felt it too. The shift. The pressure. The truth pressing against the walls. The night everything tilted felt ordinary. That's what scares me most when I look back. Marcus cooked dinner. Music played softly from the speakers. Candles on the table, an intimacy he rarely bothered with anymore. You deserve this, he said, pouring wine. I've been distracted lately. I smiled, lifting my glass. To us. The words tasted like glass in my mouth. Halfway through dinner, his phone buzzed. He checked it. Paused. Then checked it again. Work? I asked casually. Yes, he said too quickly. Just a fire I need to put out tomorrow. I nodded, watching his jaw tighten. Because I already knew. Naomi had warned me that morning. Tomorrow is the day he realizes he's not in control anymore. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He tossed. Turned. Got up twice to pace the hallway. At 2:17 a.m., his phone rang. He answered in a whisper. What? No, that's impossible. Are you sure? I lay perfectly still. Every nerve in my body screamed. By morning, the house felt different. Like it knew. Marcus sat at the kitchen table staring at his laptop, unmoving. I poured coffee. Set a cup in front of him. He didn't touch it. They reopened the investigation, he said flatly. I pretended to be surprised. When? This morning. Federal level. His eyes lifted to mine. And for the first time in our marriage, I saw fear there. I reached out, resting my hand over his. It's going to be okay, I said softly. He didn't pull away. He needed me to believe that. That was the moment I understood my power. Over the next hours, calls poured in. Lawyers. Partners. People who suddenly needed distance. Marcus's empire wasn't collapsing. It was evaporating. By noon, he slammed his laptop shut. This is sabotage, he snarled. Someone leaked information. I took a breath. Do you know who? I asked. His eyes narrowed. I have my suspicions. The way he looked at me made my skin prickle. But I didn't flinch. That evening, Naomi sent a voice message. I listened alone, locked in the bathroom. "They're moving faster than expected," she said. "But there's a problem." My heart skipped. "What problem?" "He's trying to shift blame." I closed my eyes. "Onto who?" A pause. "Onto you." I stared at my reflection in the mirror. At the woman I'd spent years shrinking. "Let him try," I said. Naomi exhaled. That's exactly what I needed to hear. Marcus came home late that night. Drunk. Angry. Unraveling. He grabbed my wrist when I tried to help him upstairs. "You wouldn't betray me," he said, eyes glassy. "Would you?" I met his gaze steadily. "No," I said. And it was the truth. I wasn't betraying him. I was surviving him. He released me and stumbled to bed. I stood there in the dark, shaking. Because I knew what was coming next. When powerful men feel cornered, they don't go quietly. They lash out. Before I continue, subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. From here on, every word matters. Marcus woke up different. Not hungover. Not angry. Focused. That terrified me more than his rage ever had. He kissed my cheek in the kitchen, gentle, deliberate, the way he did when he wanted something. "I'm going to need your help," he said calmly. I nodded, already bracing myself. "With what?" I asked. He smiled. "With the narrative." He explained it like a business strategy. If things got worse, he'd present himself as a distracted husband betrayed by internal staff. Naomi. A rogue assistant with a grudge. And you, he added softly, would confirm I was overwhelmed. Not myself. I stared at him. "You want me to lie," I said. He chuckled. "I want you to protect us." Us. That word again. Used like a leash. "I need to know something," he said, leaning closer. "You've been talking to her." My heart didn't race. It went still. "No," I replied. He searched my face, digging for cracks. "Good," he said finally. "Because she's dangerous." I almost laughed. After he left, my phone buzzed. "Naomi. He's setting a trap." I typed back. "I know." "Good," she replied. "Because we're ready too." By the end of the week, Marcus was officially named in the investigation. Not a suspect. A target. He stopped pretending after that. He started watching me. Tracking my movements. Checking the mileage on my car. Commenting on who I spoke to. One night, he said casually, "If anything happens to me, you'd be taken care of." It sounded like comfort. It felt like a threat. That night, I packed a small bag. Nothing obvious. Just essentials. I hid it in the trunk of my car. Not because I planned to run. But because I needed the option. Freedom begins as an option. Naomi and I met one last time before everything broke. She looked exhausted. But calm. "They're going public soon," she said. "Press. Charges. All of it." I swallowed. "And me?" She met my eyes. "You become the witness that ends it." Silence stretched between us. "Are you ready?" she asked. I thought about the woman I used to be. The one who stayed quiet to stay safe. "I've never been more ready," I said. The next day, Marcus exploded. "They froze my accounts," he shouted, throwing a glass against the wall. "Everything I built." I stood my ground. "You should call your lawyer," I said evenly. He stared at me. "You sound distant." I tilted my head. Maybe I finally hear myself think. That night, he tried one last time. Soft voice. Apologies. Promises. I did it for us, he whispered. You believe me, don't you? I looked at him, really looked. And I realized something devastatingly clear. Marcus didn't love me. He needed me. And I was done being needed. I believe you did it for yourself, I said quietly. The room went cold. Something in his eyes died. And something in mine came alive. The press showed up before sunrise. I knew it before I even opened the curtains. The low murmur outside. The flashing lights bouncing off the walls like silent alarms. Marcus froze beside me. For a moment, he looked small. Not powerful. Not untouchable. Cornered. This isn't supposed to happen like this, he muttered. I said nothing. Because for the first time, things weren't happening on his terms. By mid-morning, his face was everywhere. Business mogul under federal investigation. Insider exposes years of corporate fraud. Former assistant central to case. Naomi's name wasn't dragged through the mud. It was spoken with respect. That alone told me everything had shifted. Marcus paced the living room like a trapped animal. They're painting me as a monster, he snapped. After everything I've done. I watched him carefully. You mean after everything you took, I corrected. He stopped. Slowly turned toward me. You've been different, he said quietly. 4 weeks. I met his gaze. Yes. A pause. Then his voice dropped. You knew. It wasn't a question. I didn't deny it. And that was the moment his mask shattered. His face twisted, rage, fear, disbelief colliding at once. You think she saved you? He hissed. Naomi? I stayed calm. No, I said. I saved myself. He laughed. A sharp, broken sound. You have no idea what you've done, he said. They won't protect you. They'll use you. I know, I replied. That made him falter. That afternoon, agents knocked on the door. Professional. Calm. Inevitable. Marcus tried to straighten his jacket. His posture. His dignity. But it was already gone. As they read him his rights, his eyes locked onto mine. Not pleading. Accusing. As if I'd stolen something from him. I hadn't. I'd simply stopped giving. When they took him away, the house felt hollow. Not empty. Free. I didn't cry. Not then. Not when the door closed. Not when the silence settled. Because grief is for something you've lost. And I hadn't lost anything worth mourning. That evening, Naomi called. It's done, she said softly. I closed my eyes. How are you? She asked. I thought for a moment. Standing, I answered. On my own. She smiled through the phone. That's how it starts. Later that night, I walked through the house one last time. The art. The furniture. The memories that were never really mine. I packed only what mattered. And when I left, I didn't look back. Because some endings aren't loud. They're quiet. Certain. And irreversible. I thought the hardest part would be over once Marcus was gone. I was wrong. Because when a life collapses, it doesn't disappear. It rearranges. The media wanted me. Neighbors whispered. Old friends resurfaced with careful sympathy and hungry curiosity. I gave no interviews. I moved into a quiet apartment across town, small, sunlit, anonymous. For the first time in years, Every choice was mine. And that terrified me. 3 weeks after Marcus's arrest, Naomi showed up at my door. No warning. No call. Just a knock. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. She was dressed simply. Confident. Grounded. Free. I was in the neighborhood, she said. I raised an eyebrow. She smiled. I wanted to see you. We sat on the floor, backs against the couch, drinking tea like two women who'd survived the same storm from different sides. People think you saved me, Naomi said quietly. I shook my head. You saved yourself. She looked at me then, really looked. And you? She asked. I exhaled. I'm still figuring that part out. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. I came back for a reason, she said. My stomach tightened. What reason? She slid it toward me. Inside were documents. Property transfers. Accounts. Legal filings. My name. What is this? I whispered. Marcus tried to move assets into your name months ago, she said. Without telling you. I looked up, stunned. He planned to use you as a shield, she continued. But that means something interesting. My pulse raced. What? You're legally entitled to half of what's left. The room tilted. That's impossible. She shook her head. It's already in motion. I laughed, a short, disbelieving sound. After everything. I end up with his money. Naomi's expression was serious. This isn't a gift, she said. It's leverage. I met her eyes. And what do you think I should do with it? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, whatever you choose. And for the first time, I understood what power actually felt like. Not control. Choice. As she stood to leave, Naomi paused at the door. You know, she said, people are calling me brave. I smiled faintly. They should. She turned back. But they don't know the truth, she added. The truth is, I didn't come back to finish him. I frowned. Then why did you come back? She met my gaze. To see what you would become. The door closed softly behind her. And I stood there, alone, holding a future I never planned for. Because the woman Marcus tried to erase had returned. Not for revenge. But as a mirror. Before I begin, subscribe, leave a like, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. This is the choice that defines everything. I didn't sleep that night. The folder Naomi left sat on my kitchen table like a living thing. Numbers. Properties. Accounts tied to my name without my consent. Marcus's final manipulation. Or his final mistake. In the morning, I called a lawyer. Not Marcus's. Not anyone connected to his world. A woman Naomi trusted. By noon, we'd confirmed it. The assets were real. And they were mine to decide. People assume power feels intoxicating. It doesn't. It feels heavy. Like holding something that can either build or destroy, depending on where you set it down. The press caught wind of it quickly. Wife inherits bulk of disgraced executive's assets. Will she defend him? Will she run? I gave them nothing. Instead, I made calls. Quiet ones. The first thing I did was fund Naomi's legal fees, retroactively and fully. Not as charity. As acknowledgement. Then I did something no one expected. I dissolved Marcus's company. Piece by piece. Sold off divisions. Paid outstanding wages. Settled debts with employees he discarded without a second thought. Some people called it spite. It wasn't. It was closure. One afternoon, Naomi and I walked through an empty office building that once carried Marcus's name. The sign had been removed. Just shadows where letters used to be. "You didn't have to do all this," she said softly. "Yes," I replied. "I did. With what remained, I created something new. A foundation. Quiet. Focused. Designed to protect people like Naomi, employees who see too much, speak too soon, and get crushed for it. We didn't announce it with fanfare. We let the work speak." Weeks later, I visited Marcus. Prison changes a man. Strips him of illusion. He looked at me through the glass like I was a stranger. "What did you do?" he asked hoarsely. I leaned forward. "I finished what you started," I said. I told the truth. His jaw tightened. "You ruined me." I shook my head. "You did." As I stood to leave, he said something I'll never forget. "You think you won?" I turned back. "No," I said calmly. "I think I'm free." Outside, the air felt lighter. Cleaner. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel defined by what someone had done to me, but by what I chose to do next. People think the end of a story is loud. Trials. Sentences. Headlines fading into the next scandal. But the real ending is quiet. It happens after the noise dies. 6 months after Marcus disappeared from my life, I woke up one morning and realized something unsettling. I wasn't angry anymore. Not relieved. Not victorious. Just present. The apartment had begun to feel like home. Not because it was perfect, but because nothing in it belonged to someone else's expectations. The foundation was running without my constant oversight. Naomi had stepped into leadership naturally, not because I placed her there, but because she belonged there. Watching her felt like watching a future correct itself. We never talked about Marcus anymore. Not because we were afraid of his shadow, but because shadows only exist where there's something blocking the light. One afternoon, Naomi and I sat on a park bench, watching people pass. She broke the silence. "Do you ever wonder who you would have been if none of this had happened?" I considered the question carefully. "No," I said. "I wonder who I would have stayed if it hadn't." She smiled. "That woman wouldn't recognize you now." I smiled back. She wouldn't survive what I survived. Sometimes, at night, fragments still surface. The house. The marriage. The version of me that learned to be small to stay safe. But they no longer hurt. They inform. They remind me of the cost of silence. I learned something important through all of this. Helping Naomi wasn't the moment my life changed. It was the moment I stopped agreeing with my own erasure. The woman Marcus fired came back into my life. Not to destroy him, but to dismantle the lie I'd been living inside. She didn't return as a victim. She returned as proof. And as for me, I didn't rise from the ashes. I walked out of the fire while it was still burning. On my own feet. With my name intact. If this story stayed with you until the end, leave a like now. It shows that stories like this matter.